Thank you for joining us for DFA Caregiver Conversations. Today, we're joined with Gwen Graves, and she will share a little bit about her caregiving journey. So now I'll turn it over to Vicki Kalitsi.
Hey, Gwen, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. So can you tell us, who did you provide care for?
It was my mother. When I started providing care, she was 86, just before her 87th birthday. And that's when we found out that she was in early stages of dementia. And I cared for her until she was 90 and a half.
Okay, very good. So you had her for a while there with you?
Yes, well, she wasn't physically living with me. She was at one point in time, well, originally when she started, she was living with my sister who was relocating to California. So she went from my sister's house to her sister's house because she wanted to live by herself, and we figured that that wasn't going to happen. And she stayed with my aunt until it became sort of a safety hazard for her to be there because her time orientation changed, and she was coming down the steps, and we were afraid that there was going to be a problem. We didn't want any accidents. So I placed her into the House of Joseph Assisted Living Facility.
Okay, that's a nice facility. I'm familiar with that,
Yes.
with them. So thinking back, what were some of the main behaviors you noticed now that you overlooked earlier on in the process of her journey?
Well, the one thing that stands out to me is that she would tell a story or be talking about something, an incident, and every time she said it, it was as though she punched a tape because it was for verbatim. There was no deviation from the verbiage, and I thought at first it was me, but then I asked my daughter about it, and she says, yeah, I recognize that too. And then we were having a family reunion, and it was the 51st family reunion. We were hosting a white party, and she swore nobody told her about it. And I'm like, And then when we were making all the changes to move her, she got very upset because she said that we didn't talk to her, and we just dumped her at my aunt's. And she was very angry about it. So we thought she was angry because she had to move. But when I went to take her to have cataract surgery, and we were doing the prelim, exams, she asked me from my sister's house to Kaiser, which takes maybe 15, 20 minutes, 4 times, who was coming to pick her up. She knew she had an appointment, but she couldn't remember the time and who was coming. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, something's wrong. And I honestly thought it was maybe she was just kind of anxious because she was having to move and all the things. And then I thought about that, and we had an incident when we got some medicine, and she swore that she hadn't gone to pick up new medicine. So I called her doctor, and I talked to my sister and my brother first. I said, something's off. I don't know whether it's something that's really going on. It's just the anxiety and the panic. And I said, but we need to find out what it was. And so we called the doctor, had the conference call, did the test, and found out that she had Alzheimer's.
So was it her primary care physician who made the diagnosis, or did you have to see other physicians?
No, what we did is we decided to wait till after she had her cataract surgery, and then we scheduled a CT scan, and then the results of the scan, we went to see the neurologist, and he's the one who made the determination.
And when that determination was made, using the GEMS model, where was she on the GEMS model? And for those of you who are not familiar with the GEMS model, that scale is used to determine where someone is with in their dementia. And you can look at the YouTube videos from Dementia Friendly America for Mid-County to get those videos. So based on the gemstones, where was Mom when you first noticed, when she was first diagnosed?
Well, I think, and I don't want to pull my notes out and read them, but when I looked at the presentation again, I think she was diamond.
Okay.
Because she was, there were parts of her that were there. She was very rigid, structured. She felt she was very much in control and sharp. And as you said, that if you're not the person that has that relationship with her, you can't be the boss of me. And she was very determined that she was going to do what she wanted to do. Her brain was good, all the things going. So that was trying to tell her that there was something happening, and having her accept it was very, very hard. So she was very much diamond, sharp edge, not willing to give anything up, not willing to make any changes. And that was a huge battle.
So you went from diamond all the way to pearl, or did she skip some of the gemstones?
She seemed to skip some of the gemstones, and even at pearl, and I think of her towards the end as pearl, her motor skills were there because she went to a period where she had health problems. She had episodes of syncope, and we were fearful for her for a while, and she pulled through. And there were a lot of hospital visits and things like that. And she gave up the fight. She relented. You could do things for her. She enjoyed spending time. You know, I would always take her pictures and always have something ready when I went to see her, new pictures to show, or, you know, have already ad-libbed like a visit, how we were going to go through with a visit, and music. And she liked getting her nails done, different things like that. So she was softer. And the music, she loved to dance. And they had somebody come in to do music, and she'd be dancing. And matter of fact, the night before she died, they said she danced down the hallway on that, you know, that night to bed. So she never lost, she had a time where we thought she was having a problem swallowing, but they did a swallow study and said she was fine. She lost her appetite, but she never lost the motor skills. She did need assistance with bathing and stuff like that, but she was not, she was still very much there a lot. She knew that she didn't remember everything. And she would say, I probably don't remember, but she didn't get to the point where she totally couldn't care for herself or didn't know what was going on.
So it sounds like mom might have been a Ruby. And, you know, with that Ruby, the gift for you all, for the family, was that rhythm and music. And I'm sure just knowing that she was still able to get around and she was dancing, you know, that brought some comfort to the family.
Yeah, because when I would see her, particularly when we went through those about 4 or 5 months, where everything was constantly hospital visits, and I get a call in the morning, I know it was her, and I'm rushing off to the hospital and those kinds of things, and see her come back, because she had was using a walker, and by the time she died, she no longer had to use the walker. She was eating again. She was very much herself, and we were actually totally shocked when she passed, because we just had Thanksgiving together. But I found out from Jackie that she told them that Friday that she said they were talking about that they were going to have their Thanksgiving dinner there at the house. And she said, oh, the menus, everything is good, but I'm not going to be here. She said, well, where are you going? She said, I'm going home. And Jackie thought that we were coming to get her, but we forgot to tell her. But like I said, she danced down the hallway that night. And that morning she got up and went to the bathroom, and talked to the attendant for a while. And when they went to get her for the day, she was unresponsive. So she danced on out of here.
She probably went out the way that she wanted to.
The way she wanted to go, yeah.
Yeah. So during the time mom was in and out of the hospital and she was over, you know, in assisted living, did you have support from other family members, or were you the chosen one?
I had some limited support, but I was the chosen one. I'm the oldest, and my sister had already relocated. I had some family members who did some things, like to get her to church. We had someone who would take her to church. I even have used Uber a couple of different times, but I was the one who was primarily responsible for everything, getting her to her doctor appointments, anything that she needed that the home didn't supply, all of those things, just she became my reason for taking care of her was my full-time job. Even though she didn't live in my house, it was still my total responsibility.
And with you and mom having that separation, living in separate environments, do you think that made you a better daughter for her? That where you didn't have to be the caregiver 24 hours a day, and when you went to see mom, you could be Gwen, her daughter, and spend that quality time with her?
Most definitely, because mom and I didn't get along. we we were like oil and water most of our life from the time we were little. So, there was no way she could live with me, no matter if I had wanted to. I was not her favorite. I was not her chosen one. As I took care of her, she realized, well, this is who's going to do it. And I looked and I said, this is the one I'm going to be partnered with. So it was better for us. Like a lot of people don't understand and they say, how can you not bring her into your home? But you have to look at the relationship. You have to look at the impact to your family. You have to look at the impact to yourself. And I had neglected my health. And I had finally crawled into the orthopedics office. And he said, look, you can't take care of your mom by yourself. It's okay to have her in a facility. He said, that's what they're paid for. That's what they're trained for. They have their shift. They go home. If you have her, you have 24/7. You can't do that. So having him tell me that I physically couldn't do that took some of the burden off of it, and it was better. And she loved it there. She loved it. She would not have been happy with me at home. She loved where she was, and that was a good fit for her. She loved the environment. She loved the caregivers. When I would come to say, she forget, oh, let me introduce you to the girls, so it worked out. That was the best fit for us.
Now, did you look around for other places before you found the assisted living where she ended up at? How did you go, navigate that process?
Yes, I did. I looked at a couple. There were some I wouldn't have been able to sleep at night if I had my mom in there. I cried. The thought I would have to put my mom there. There were some that I visited that even though they were very nice, I felt they were not patient friendly. It was like a business, and it is a business, don't get me wrong. But when I'm in a place that I'm going to leave my mom and I don't even know that there's anybody in there, you get a feeling about different things. I did place her in one home, which I won't name, and which I thought it was going to work because it was very, very close to me, and it turned not to be a good fit. And they didn't live up to what they said, and they didn't want to deal when she started to have something. So I had visited House of Joseph before. And at that particular time, I was looking for a private room. They didn't have anything available but a shared room, and I didn't think Mom would adjust to that. So the other place had a private room, but when I did move her into House of Joseph, I moved her into shared, but she was happy. It didn't even matter to her then. She had progressed. And I said, Mom, how's your roommate? I don't have a roommate. So she was happy. She was happy. So you look at a lot of places. I love some of the places, but frankly, they were much more expensive because my mom, like a lot of seniors, did not plan for that. And I did not know she had not planned for that. She was with someone who said, I'm going to take care of you till the day you die. And that was their plan, and I wasn't a part of it. And it hit us. And so and one thing I would advise people, if you've got an elderly parent, you need to delve into what's happening, because it's not a cheap process. It's expensive. It's very expensive. And they may push you back. Because I admit, if I had thought about it and I should have done something, I would have gone and paid for long-term care insurance from my mom or something. And I would have put money aside, because this was just a killer. I had retired. My husband had retired. And she was not part of our retirement plan. We had to make adjustments, but that's something I would advise everybody to look at, for their parents as they age.
People do not realize that Medicare and the insurances do not pay for long-term care. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people have a misconception that it will pay for it. So I guess knowing that that would have made a difference in your mother's life, her quality of life, and mm-hmm. you financially, that advice given someone to go and get that long-term care insurance when possible, to go ahead and do that. Now, have you done that for yourself?
Oh God, yes. We did that back when my husband and I were before we're 50s or so, because we had insurance, and we had an insurance policy that covered us for in case something happened. And what I did is that when we got to the point that I knew that I could retire from my company, or my company would cover me until I was 65 under insurance, I got rid of that insurance and bought long-term care insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So we constantly watched insurances and changed it, and we have it and we keep it. People complain that it's expensive, but actually you spend more money per month going to Costco, BJ's, and all the other places that you're going, and it's well worth it. And we have a policy. I've had that policy for a long time. I'm now over 55, well over. I'm 69 years old. I tell it, I'm 69 years old. So we've had that policy since I was about early 50s.
Oh, wow. So you were smart. You got it earlier on, and the earlier you get it, the cheaper it is. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Shonda, I'm sure you have some questions you would like to ask Gwen.
Yes, Gwen. So, and I say Miss Graves, you know that, but so Miss Graves.
Shonda always calls me Miss Graves. She calls me Gwen.
I can't do it. I love Miss Graves, but Miss Graves, you did provide some great advice, and even for how you chose the steps to, have your mom in a facility. But for someone else that's out there that's trying to make the decision whether they want to keep their loved one at home or place them in a facility, what advice would you give that caregiver?
First of all, I think I'd tell that person to be very honest with yourself. Is this something that you can actually do? And is this something that's going to be a good fit for you, your loved one, and your family? Because there are a lot of pressure. People said to me, how can you not do this? But if you haven't walked a mile in somebody's shoes, you really don't know what the situation is. So I advise them to really be honest about it. Can they physically do it? Can they mentally do it? Because you're going to be on the clock 24/7. She's not going to shut down at 6 o'clock in the afternoon so you can have some alone time or whatever. So I always say, be honest with yourself. And if there's something you feel that you really want to do, go ahead, get some assistance, and plan on having some assistance, because you can't do it all. You have got to have some time for yourself. And that's one of the big things that caregiver, and I did it. When my mother died, I was crawling to the doctor. I was in the doctor's office the whole week. I was so sick and so broken down and so run down, and I had neglected myself so badly. And you've done not a good job of taking care of yourself, because my daughter pulled the "I'm your daughter" card. And if anybody else looks like you, they think you're doing fine, but we know you. Dad wants his wife back. We want our mom back. The grandkids want their grandmother back, and you're not taking care of yourself. So I'd ask somebody to really think hard about it. And if you want to try it, try it. If it doesn't work, don't feel bad. You've got to survive too, and they've got to be survived. And it takes a lot more than what you really think it is, because a lot of us have a hard time seeing the changes. That's our person. People are in big states of denial about what's actually going on, and little things that they start to do, and it's not because they're being mean or stubborn or whatever. These things are happening. Like when my sister was trying to move, my mom couldn't get her stuff packed up, so my sister moved her out. And so and it's not mom was being stubborn. I realize now she didn't have the organizational skills to do that anymore. She didn't realize certain things were happening. It went from one pile to the other, and it just not get. So you really have to stop and think about everything. And then if you want to try it. But if it doesn't work, please don't be ashamed to go seek help and placement. That doesn't mean that you don't love that person anymore. Because if you're broken down, you can't help them.
That's so true. That's so true. And so you've already just kind of jumped into the next question. And and that question is about self-care. So you've talked about it a little of how you crawled into the doctor's office.
Yes.
So how important was self-care for you while you were on your caregiving journey with your mom? And also, what are you doing for yourself now? Because I know that now you have someone else that you're providing care for in the family. And so what are you doing for yourself? I know you're providing guidance for that family member, but what are you doing to care for yourself?
Well, unlike with my mom, and you're right, I didn't do a good job. But one of the things I did do for myself is I joined a caregivers group, one with the Department of Family Services and the other with that's the best thing you can do, because you can go, you meet with other people, you get advice. It's a no judgment zone. People are going through some of the same things that you are. There are people there who are seasoned, who've been there before. They're there to help you. And that takes a lot of the mental burden off of you, because you see, I'm not by myself. I can go and I can talk, and I'm not this monster that I feel like I'm inside when I'm not perfect and I'm not doing all of that. Some of the things that I was bad about doing stuff because I actually thought I was taking care of myself, but I found that I wasn't taking care of myself. Some of the tips I found out from other people, I had one of the young ladies, every week, she went to whatever the cheap movie day was, took herself, had a movie, I would indulge myself. My treat was when I went to the doctor, I said, look, I gained some weight, but this is what's going on in my life. If I wanted it and I liked it, I ate it. That was my enjoyment. Food, I put on a couple pounds, but that was my solace. I let my appearance go somewhat. I felt like for a little while, if I'm coordinated and I'm clean, I'm in the hospitals, I'm running back and forth. And then I looked like, so I started taking better care of myself, making sure hair was done, nails were done, like I'm not gonna lie about the makeup thing. Sometimes the makeup thing didn't make it, but doing things to take care of myself, because if you look better, you feel better. It's a big difference. And now what I do for myself is that I don't have a problem with saying I can't do it right now and I can't take any more. And I'm fortunate that during we were taking care of Mom, my husband, I said, water gives me peace. He said, go find a place. And I did. It took me a year, but I found a house right on the water. And that's my go-to place. When I roll up in that driveway, everything rolls off of me. I can sit and look at the water. I can be outside. I can stand and wash dishes and see the water. And I take myself to that place. Sometimes my husband would look at me and say, you need to take a drive. And that meant you need to get out. And I will go. And now I do that a lot now. I go sometimes and I'm like, I'm gone. I head out for a couple days, a week, maybe 2 weeks, where I can go and come back to myself and have some peace and solace. And that's very important. And I often used to feel guilty when I didn't do things like that to take care of myself. But as I said before, if you don't take care of yourself, you're not taking care. You think you're taking care of other people, but as my husband would go later, you got this going. He said, I don't get any more of that. You're really snapping and biting and taking people's heads off. You don't really know. And he loved it when I went to caregivers. It was like, wow, she went to therapy. She's kind of back to her. You seen it because he went to one about
yeah. Ms. Graves,
yes.
Thank you so much for those tips for self-care. It's so important. And I love that you said you have a place that you can go and just have solace and peace and, come back to yourself. And so thank you for that. I just have one more question for you. And basically, I would like to know, what tips can you provide caregivers who are currently on this journey? Something that can, just uplift them and encourage them as they are on this journey.
Okay, well, one of the things that I want to encourage every caregiver to do is to, first of all, you're not in this by yourself. There are groups out there, caregivers groups. You may go to one that doesn't fit you. Keep looking because they're there. The other thing is I want to encourage people to educate yourself. There's a lot of information out there, and I can tell you, that I've used Alzheimer's.org and taken some of their online classes, because there was an excellent class that taught me how to communicate with my mother, because we were having problems. And there are certain things that you don't understand about a person with Alzheimer's. And like one of the things I learned is that female voices, we have a different pitch that seems to be grating and aggravating to them. So I learned sometimes that if I wanted my mom to do something, I may have a male present the information to her because my voice was aggravated. And then how you don't give them a lot of choices. So ways to educate yourself, because if you educate yourself, you can be an advocate for your loved one. Because I'm gonna tell you, my mother's healthcare providers were, I'm gonna say, okay if you were well and healthy, but if you were older, some people tend to, well, you're on your last leg, I'm just gonna let you go. And I had to fight for things and services, because somebody telling me, well, she's already past the age group that we do studies for. I don't care. She's alive. She's a human being. She has loved ones. She's enjoying life, and and we're paying for this service. So if you're educated, you're well armed to be a much better advocate for your loved one. So get a caregiver group, educate yourself, become an advocate. And another thing that I thought of, I had to do a lot, when you're going to have a baby, you get your go bag ready, because you may have to go at any time, bag for you, bag for the baby. When you got an elderly person that may have to get a go bag for you, I packed a go bag for me and a go bag for my mom. And I kept them in the car at all times. And so with that trip, when the paramedics got her and they had to take her, and maybe she had thrown up or something, she had clothes. If I had to stay longer, I had clothes. So, just prepare for those types of things, and because that makes life a lot easier for you. It was easier to have a bag already packed with, from Depends to toiletries or everything else in there, change of clothes, so that when I had to go, I had mine. I had one for her and one for me. And I guess the last thing I'd encourage people, don't be too hard on yourself. Don't beat up on yourself. We often judge ourselves very harshly because we listen to input from a lot of people. We feel that we're not doing the best. You can only do what you can do. And if you can't do it, there's no shame in saying, I can't do it. There's no shame in asking for help. If no one in your family will help you, there are all kinds of different services, and you will find people, you'll find support in the pet caregivers group. But I beat myself up a lot. And that's the one thing I learned, and I've learned from other caregivers. We seem to take everything on. So give yourself a break. You have a right God loves you. You have a right to a decent and beautiful life. Take it, embrace it, do what you need to do for your loved one, but give yourself a break and give some love and care to yourself too.
Yes. Thank you so much. I love those tips for the caregivers. Each thing that you said, each tip, but the go bag, I think that is something that, that's new in the toolbox for me. I know we did a dementia transportation conference, and they talked about having a caregiver bag, but a go bag. I love that name. Have a go bag.
Go bag. Yes. It saved me many a time.
Yes. Well, thank you for this great conversation today, Ms. Graves. I mean, this is wonderful tips and tools for caregivers. And so, Vicki, did you want to say some other things with, to finish up the conversation?
Well, I just want to say, when you've done an excellent job, if more people, I hope people take heed to the advice that you gave. You gave some sound advice. And like you said, you can only do what you can do. And you did the best that you can. And you look fabulous.
Well, thank you. And before we go, can I say something?
Yes,
I'd like to give a shout out to you guys, because I've seen you in the conferences. I met Shonda in the conferences. Mm-hmm. And if people go to the conferences, the caregivers conference that the county provides, we got COVID now, but we've had the Zoom sessions. Mm-hmm. You learn a lot. You meet people and you learn a lot. And there are a lot of resources. So there, hats off to all of you guys that are doing that. And I hope more people take advantage of what's out there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us with DFA Conversations. Well, DFA Mid-County Conversations. We'll see you the next time.
All right. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.